Exposed. The sinister angel slayer creating a terrifying heaven of the cursed and haunted. Claire had always believed Mill Creek was a safe haven, a picturesque suburb, where the sun set behind neat white picket fences, casting long shadows that made everything feel cozy. But that was before the whispers began, before the angel slayer's name slithered through the streets like a cold breeze that brought with it dread and despair. The first hint was Tom, her charming neighbor. His smile, once reassuring, grew unnervingly wide. She spotted him staring into the inky blackness of night, pacing like a predator on the prowl. Just the stress of life, she told herself, shaking her head as she juggled her 2 jobs and the weight of her responsibilities. But soon, the little things, the fleeting laughter of children gone, the empty houses broke the reassuring illusion. It wasn't just her imagination. Families had begun to vanish. Reports swirled like autumn leaves caught in a gust. The angel slayer, they called him. A monster lurking just outside their door, weaving a web of unsuspecting secrets, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That night, when she walked home from the diner, her heart raced with the echo of hushed conversations brushed against the wind. Beware the angel who smiles too wide, the words rang in Claire's mind. Aaron, her 13-year-old son, came bursting into the kitchen, note in hand, trembling. The crinkled paper bore the ghostly phrase, and it sent a chill racing down her spine. Just a prank, she whispered, but she couldn't ignore the ominous throbbing starling in her gut. As darkness settled in, fear slithered from the abyss inside her, tightening its grip. The police dismissed her concerns, rolling their eyes as if she had conjured a myth. The world felt heavy, and she found herself glancing out of darkened windows, dreading the ever-present smile of Tom. Was the madness contagious? The energy around her was electric, charged with tension. As Claire paced restlessly, pierced by the unsettling symbols she overheard in whispered conversations at the diner, mundane roses turned into dark omens. Buried under ivy, she discovered a nightmare. The markings terrors clawed out in blood-red paint made her pulse spike and knees quiver. What had she stumbled into? She thought, frantically brushing the dirt aside as she unearthed twisted art shaped from folklore. The muffled screams echoed in her mind, warning her to flee. But there was no escape when something vile lurked behind each smiling face. A piercing scream shattered the fragile silence, sending shockwaves through her body and mind. Claire bolted toward the sound, adrenaline surging as she shifted through the suffocating blankets of shadows. The aura turned frigid. Tom's house glowed ghastly, illuminated by a flickering bulb. He hovered there, backlit and ominous, stood over something crumpled in the grass. Panic clawed at her throat. She knew she had to protect her kids now more than ever. She wanted to scream, but the words caught like thorns. The weight of the truth crashed down. Safety was a mirage, evaporating in the dawn of horror. Standing at the precipice, Claire hesitated, locking eyes with the seemingly innocent neighbor. His grin, carved into the darkness, felt like a dagger raised against the hearts of the families around her. What had they hidden so well behind their lawn ornaments? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The churning chill roused her ferocious need to protect her family. The revelations lay cracked in the muted chaos of the night, and Claire felt her heart hammer against her ribcage. Staring into that deceptive smile, 1,000 questions raced through her thoughts. Had she misjudged everything? Were they all woven intricately into the tapestry of the angel slayer's nightmarish web? As she stepped closer, shadows shifted, twisting around her like a predator stalking its prey. The dread formed into a crystalline truth. The perfect suburb was just a facade hiding a ghastly nightmare. And she was right in the middle of it. What lay beneath Mill Creek's polished surface was an abyss of terror that could swallow her whole. How deep did this darkness run? As Tom's smile widened, she realized this night was only the beginning. Would she find the truth, or become just another whisper in the wind? Claire's breath hitched as Tom's eyes glinted, a malevolent glow cutting through the night. She felt like a moth drawn closer to a flame, dangerous, yet irresistible. The crumpled shape beside him was shrouded in a darkness deeper than the night's veil, and her instincts screamed for her to turn back. But fear couldn't tether her. She pressed forward, each step heavy with dread. "Claire," Tom called, voice smooth as silk. "Come see what I've found." The words twisted in the air, curling around her like tendrils of smoke. He gestured toward the ground, where the shadows writhed. "Isn't it beautiful?" Words lodged in her throat as she fought against the impulse to flee. The crumpled figure revealed itself more clearly, a torn fabric, dirt-stained and frayed at the edges. A child's toy lay beside it, a bizarre reminder of innocence tainted, shattered by the darkness creeping into their lives. Jason, the kid from 3 doors down, had been playing with this toy just yesterday. The very image of Tom, the gentle neighbor, crumbled in her perception. The smile, now grotesque, a bridge connecting his charm to a grotesque revelation. Where are the others? She heard herself ask, surprise laced with defiance. The question hung heavy in the air, immediately swallowed by the silence that enveloped them. There Tom paused, tilting his head as though weighing his words. "They're with the Angel Slayer now. Isn't that what you wanted for them? A peaceful slumber?" Laughter bubbled from his lips, a sound that twisted her stomach and set her heart racing. She backed away instinctively, the truth nipping at her heels, sharp and undeniable. This was not just a game. It was a hunt. That a sudden rustling in the bushes nearby startled her, breaking the spell of Tom's sinister charm. "Aaron," she shouted, desperation clawing her voice. "Get back inside." The night felt insatiably alive, the world around them shaking, echoing with the agonized cries of silence. She felt exposed, unprotected against this madness that had festered among those she trusted. Tom stepped forward, still grinning, the joy in his eyes warped by something dark. "They're merely resting, Claire. Come join us. We have so much to celebrate." What insanity churned in his mind. Claire's fight-or-flight instincts screamed for her to run, to gather Aaron, to flee this hellish place. But her feet were rooted, compelled to unearth the horror shrouded behind the polished veneer of Mill Creek. "You're sick," she spat, the words almost trembling as they escaped her lips. Suddenly, the shadows thickened, enveloping her like a fog rolling through the night. Voices rose from the streets beyond, rising and falling like a chant, but there was no comfort in their cadence, only a sense of unfathomable dread. Those voices were familiar. What had happened to them? Tom's laughter echoed, and in that moment, she felt a surge of fleeting hope. Families would band together. She couldn't be the only one awake to the terror, could she? They would fight back, expose the truth lurking under the surface. She glanced at the nearest house. The lights flickered ominously, dark windows watching her. Shadows danced behind them, betraying the inhabitants who should have taken shelter from the nightmare creeping towards them. "Run," Claire whispered to herself, the word resonating like a heartbeat. But she was still caught in Tom's web of madness. Suddenly, the shadows whispered back. "Run? You mean join the rest?" They swirled around her, a soft caress of sinister inevitability. With the weight of impending doom pressing against her chest, Claire turned her back on Tom. The facade of safety shattered like glass shards across the pavement. She darted toward Aaron, who had just emerged from the darkness, fear coloring his face. "Mom, what is happening?" His innocence crushed under the burden of madness. Before she could answer, an ear-splitting scream erupted from Tom's house, piercing the night like a knife. It reverberated deep within her, a chilling reminder that they were not alone. With the darkness clinging to her thoughts, Claire seized her son's hand. "We need to go now." But as they turned to flee, deeper shadows crept from all corners, hungry for someone to snare. Familial love pitted against the icy grip of terror. Were they simply exchanging one nightmare for another? What awaited them in the depths the woods hung thick with night behind their home could be their greatest salvation or the end of everything. Would they make it out? Or was the embrace of the Angel Slayer more chilling than the shadows themselves? The night clung tighter around them, as bones rattled in the stillness. Claire's heart thundered in her chest as she felt the cold grip of fear surrounding them. The scream echoed behind them, but she didn't dare look back. Reflexively, She pulled Aaron closer. We have to run. They dashed toward the narrow road, her feet pounding against the gravel, adrenaline surging through her veins. The woods loomed ahead, dark and inviting yet filled with an unsettling unknown. It felt like a threshold between the horror they'd just escaped and something even more sinister. Mom, what is happening? Aaron's voice trembled, cutting through the thick silence that consumed everything else. Claire glanced down at him, panic clawing at her insides. I don't know, honey. We just need to keep moving. She wished she had answers, something to comfort him in this madness. Instead, she only had raw instinct to guide them as they broke into the tree line. Shadows danced around them, limbs reaching like skeletal fingers. The oppressive darkness surrounded them, swallowing the last slivers of light. Claire could feel the air thicken, as if the forest were breathing, alive with malice. Each rustle among the leaves was a warning. Every snap of a twig beneath their feet a reminder that they were not alone. Claire glanced behind them. The flickering lights of Mill Creek faded, replaced by the encroaching void that hungers for the lost. Mom, Aaron cried, clutching her hand tightly. She could hear whispers now, soft and sinister. The wind carried words she couldn't make out, but they twisted around her thoughts, chilling her soul. Were they calling to them? They needed to escape, she kept telling herself, but the woods stretched endlessly, like a maze designed to ensnare. We have to find a way out, Claire urged, pushing forward. They darted deeper into the forest, branches snagging her clothes, tearing at her skin. Every step sounded louder than the last, banging against the walls of silence surrounding them. Then, a chilling realization settled in. The screams from Tom's house had faded, but the echo of the laughter remained. It played in her mind, taunting her, mixing with the whispers of the trees. How could he be so cruel? What kind of monster had he become? Suddenly, a sharp noise split the air, cutting through her thoughts. A low growl followed. It was close. Claire's breath caught, and she turned to Aaron, panic flooding her senses. Run. But there was no path, only thick foliage that wrapped around them like a shroud. They stumbled into a small clearing, the moonlight casting eerie shadows that jutted and twisted in every direction. In the center of that clearing lay an old, rusted swing set. What appeared once as a joyful playground now hung like a monument of despair, creaking under the weight of the stillness. The chains swayed slightly, as if touched by unseen hands, the whispers surrounding them growing louder, still a childish laugh underlined by something darker, more sinister. Claire could almost see the spirits of the lost children swirling among the trees, beckoning her closer. No, warning her. Stay close, Aaron, she yelled, feeling their grip slipping as she turned. The darkness behind them surged forward, closer than before, gnashing its teeth. Then, a piercing shriek erupted from the tree line, and the ground trembled beneath them. It was as if the very earth protested, quaking under the weight of dread. Claire felt icy fingers brush against her back. The shadows slithered, burrowing into her mind, dragging at her sanity. Mom, I can't, Aaron wailed, falling back as he fidgeted with fear. She snatched his hand, squeezing it tightly. Bears, wolves, siblings lost to darkness, whatever lurked out, there was no match for Claire's love. We're getting out of here. But then, from the corner of her eye, she caught a fleeting glimpse of figure, pale and glowing against the void, emerging from the trees. It wasn't Tom. It was something much worse, something otherworldly. Was it an angel, or a phantom warning them? Claire's heart raced as the figure started towards them, arms outstretched, lips moving, though no sound escaped. And, just then, in that cursed moment of confrontation, a deafening roar filled the air. Fear erupted in her throat, a primal scream that echoed in the quiet woods. Would this be the night the angel slayer fulfilled its promise? As the shadows around them pulsed with life, Claire gripped Aaron tighter, ready to face whatever horror awaited them. And the earth quaked anew, daring them to hold on. What awaited them next, as the figure drew closer, was nothing she'd prepared for. Would it save them or seal their fate? The figure drew nearer, its presence lighting the air, but an icy dread coursed through Claire. The face remained hidden in a veil of light, features indistinguishable but exuding an unsettling aura that stirred her primal instincts. It seemed to float closer, gliding rather than walking, defying the very laws of the earth. Mom, what is it? Aaron's voice quivered like a fragile leaf caught in the wind. She could sense his heart racing, syncopated beats matching the cacophony of a thunderstorm brewing within her. "Stay behind me. Don't let go," Claire spat out, forcing a brave front as she faced whatever malevolent spirit approached. The whispers grew louder, thrumming through the air like a sick melody, words echoing in half-formed phrases that clawed at her mind. She heard laughter again. It was the glee of children, once innocent, now corrupt. What had once been sweet had turned sour, twisting into a nightmare that wrapped around her senses. Sudden terror clawed at her throat, and she wanted nothing more than to flee, to abandon everything in search of safe ground. But a strange compulsion held her in place, an anchored fear that kept her from turning away from the radiant figure. The dark, whispering shadows pulsated behind them, eager to seize upon any hesitation. "No, don't." A voice, deep and resonant, slithered through the crackling air, emanating from the spectral being. It sent chills spiraling down Claire's spine. "You must remember." Before she could process the command, a barrage of images flooded her mind, faces of children lost to the darkness. Their eyes wide, pleading, lost moments of joy that now rippled with despair. Where were they now? A desperate thought clicked into place. Did this figure know? "What do you want from us?" Claire screamed, the sound sharp and echoing off the tree trunks. She tightened her grip on Aaron, who was tugging, straining against her hold, fear radiating from every fiber of his being. "Not from you," the figure responded, its voice softer now, almost tender. "From him." It gestured to the shadows. They whispered louder, a cacophony of wails and laughter, tangling in her thoughts. Suddenly, the ground seemed to crack as a burst of darkness erupted around them, causing Claire to stumble back. The swing set creaked ominously in response, chains rattling with a life of their own. The moonlight shimmered against the rust, revealing shapes circling around the old swing's phantoms from forgotten years, children dancing in torment. "Run, Mom," Aaron shouted, wrenching away from her as if his small body was weightless. He sprinted, dodging the darkness, darting toward an increasingly distant edge of the clearing where the trees gave way to thick underbrush. "No," Claire cried, emotions churning within her as fear and determination surged. The angel-like figure remained unmoved, pointedly watching Aaron retreat, as if measuring the young boy's every movement. With its gaze fixed upon him, the whispers intensified, a symphony of malevolence rising like steam from the dark ground below. "Come here, Aaron," Claire yelled, her voice mixing with the whispers, desperation fueling her words. "Please." Then the earth quaked again, this time more violently, as if answering the entity's call. Claire felt the ground slipping beneath her feet, the shadows writhing. The glowing figure seemed unconcerned, as if watching a play unfold. Suddenly, Aaron stopped, turning back to her with wide, pleading eyes. "Mom." It's the rest of his sentence faded away under the roar that enveloped them. "Run to me, Aaron. Don't look back." She desperately beckoned, but the pull of the shadows was strong, laced with promises disguised as threats, luring the innocent with a siren's song. Before she could reach him, Claire felt an icy hand clasp onto her shoulder. Shadows twisted together to form a face. It was Tom, but twisted, warped, and hollow. His eyes were black voids, gaping and hungry. "You shouldn't have come here, Claire." As fear surged anew, Claire struggled against the grip. She was losing them both. The shadows, the whispers, Tom's monstrous grin, they were all consuming the light, dragging them into the abyss. And then she noticed something strange about the figure. The soft glow that seemed heavenly was now flickering. Was it struggling against the darkness? The realization crashed over her like icy water. There was a battle here to be won, but what would it cost? "Mom, please." Aaron's cries were crammed with desperation, echoes trapped in the chaos as the darkness twisted around him, threatening to pull him away. Claire could do only one thing: draw upon the deepest fury within her. It was time to fight for her child, but what kind of monster would she awaken to save him? In that moment of desperation, she lunged forward, ready to confront the darkness, only to find herself face to face with the truth that could unravel everything. Claire's heart thundered in her chest as she collided with the darkness, each second stretching like an eternity. The whispers consumed her thoughts, a chaotic blend of laughter and cries that wrapped around her, suffocating. What had she awakened? Tom's hollow gaze bore down on her, a shadow of the man she once knew. You have to let him go, he hissed, his voice now laced with the promise of desolation. It's the only way. No, Claire screamed, the word tearing from her throat like a wounded animal. She slipped from Tom's grasp, which dissipated into the dark winds swirling around her. In the depths of her horror, she heard Aaron's voice again, small, frightened, filled with the raw terror of a child. The glowing figure flickered, desperately fighting against the looming shadows. Was it trying to intervene? As fear clouded her mind, flickers of hope seeped through. If she could just reach it, if she could pull them all back from this edge. Aaron, she called out, forcing every ounce of hope into her voice. I'm coming for you. But every inch she gained felt like a step into quicksand. The ground beneath her seemed to pulse, a living entity, eager to pull her down to join the mass of darkness that roiled like a storm. Go now? Tom's voice twisted around her, echoing in the corners of her mind. Your love will betray you. Color drained from Claire's face. The echo of the past crashed into her present with the weight of clarity. Could he be right? What if the love she felt was exactly what the darkness craved? Claire's breath quickened, unsure of whether to fight the shadows or trust her instincts. She reached out, fingertips brushing against the luminous figure. It shimmered under her touch, an electric connection sparking between them. Suddenly, memories exploded into her mind, images of laughter echoing through a sunlit backyard, children playing, safe and whole, faces lost and collected in the shadows now threatening to drown out her son. Fight it, she yelled, her voice full of determination. You can't take him. The figure hesitated, as if it heard her plea. A pulse of light erupted around them, illuminating the darkness and revealing twisted shapes swirling like smoke. Moments of joy springing from her heart, Claire, filled with ferocity, pushed against the shadows. With each breath she took, memories glimmered in the darkness, a desperate plea mixing with the chaos. Aaron's crying reached a fever pitch. Mom, help! His small figure was now just beyond reach, caught in a vortex of writhing shadows that threatened to swallow him whole. Claire's heart sank, digging deep within herself. She whispered the names of the children who were lost, the ones she could remember. Each name was a mantra, a heat rising inside her that could challenge the darkness. Lily, Max, Oliver. The entity flickered violently, each name striking like a hammer against the chains of despair, breaking the grip the shadows had on her and the boy. They were connected, a web of fierce love, and she would not let the darkness tear them apart. This is not your home, Claire screamed, the words bursting forth like an explosion of light. The shadows around her shrieked, recoiling in pain. She felt their grip loosening, felt the warm embrace of the figure closing in as they aligned against the gathering storm. But darkness is relentless. A new surge of shadows rushed in, drowning out hope. They reached for her, and she could practically feel despair gnawing at her legs. Run, Claire, run. Tom's visage twisted in agony, pleading with her to abandon the fight. But the specter was here, coalescing into something fierce, flaring with brightness that fought against the darkness wrapping around her son. Then, just as she thought she could free Aaron, the shadows roared, and reality lurched, and everything went black. Claire awoke to silence, a deafening stillness that seemed to thrum with tension. Her eyes shot open, but revealed nothing. Where was Aaron? The echoes of laughter and whispers vanished, leaving only a haunting emptiness in its wake. Fearing the worst, she tried to grasp her surroundings, only to be met with the strangest sensation, a gentle warmth caressing her skin. A light flickered at the edges of her vision, shaping shadows that danced like fading memories. Before she could process where she was, she felt it, the unmistakable chill of 3 tiny fingers brushing against her own. Aaron. But all she could hear was a haunting giggle, a sound that promised joy yet echoed with sinister intent, as if the darkness had only just begun its game. What had she unleashed? Claire's breath hitched as her heart raced, thrumming violently against her ribs. What had she awakened? The laughter echoed again, sweet yet discordant, twirling in the air around her like a taunting song. It pulled at her panic, making her chest tighten. Aaron, she called out, desperation twisting her voice. Please, speak to me. His fingers slipped from hers. The warmth that had filled her moments ago now felt cold and elusive. Shadows flickered in and out of her line of sight, merging with the luminous figure she fought so hard to embrace. She strained to see Erin's face, but it was lost in the dark haze, a cruel mirage just beyond her grasp. The giggle echoed again, and Claire's skin prickled. It was a sound she recognized, one belonging to a child. But it was not Erin's. It was laced with malice, a sinister twist flickering with a mocking edge. Claire spun around, heart pounding, eyes darting through the darkness. "Who is there?" she shouted, anger rushing through her veins. The resolute inner voice that had urged her to fight was now nearly drowned out by rising dread. The shadows shifted, swirling, and for a moment, the air felt electric. The giggle turned into voices, a chorus of childhood laughter. They all came at once, filling the void with ghostly echoes, each voice carving a wound deeper than the last. "Mommy," they called, bright and haunting, blending with something darker, deeper. "Come play with us." Claire recoiled, her stomach twisting. "No, you're not my son. You're not real." Yet, as she shouted, she felt the ground tremble beneath her, her feet rooted in a place that felt all too familiar. They were children lost, but their joy twisted into something grotesque, a bell tolling for her son. The walls of darkness expanded, breathing in sync with her fear. This place was at purgatory, an abyss where souls were trapped, forced into a never-ending embrace with shadows. The pinprick warmth of those fingers lingered like an echo, reminding her of Erin, her love for him fueling the flickering light that surrounded her. "I want to lose you," Claire screamed into the abyss, voice cracking. "I will find you. Just hold on." As if in response, the shadows shifted again, coiling and unwinding like a serpent released from a slumber. Claire felt a sudden draw, a magnetic charm toward a vivid light deep within the darkness. It pulsed softly, a beacon of hope cutting through despair. "Follow the light." The call of a child, the same voice, yet this time pure. Claire surged forward, carving a path through the thickening shadows. But the darkness fought back, grasping at her, clawing at her ankles, dragging as if aware of her intent to escape. The whisper of Tom's voice loomed again, warning her of the danger, feeding on her doubt. "You can't," she silenced it, dispelling each doubt with the strength of her resolve. "I can't let you take him." The figure's light seemed to grow brighter as she pushed through the suffocating grips of the darkness. Claire's every movement felt agonizingly slow, the shadows bending her will, but she refused to yield. The silver laughter rang again, sharper, now tinged with desperation. "Claire!" Her name rushed in waves, sweeping over her like a storm. Then Claire saw him, a flash of her son's small form, fighting to break free amidst swirling darkness. "Mom, help!" Claire's heart stuttered. She was so close, just beyond the veil of shadows. She took a deep breath, and on the exhale, let every ounce of fear and determination fuel her next step. Then she jumped, reaching outward. As her hands extended, the darkness erupted, bending, curling, and the laughter turned to screams. The sudden silence was deafening, a pause before a storm. Suddenly, the light flickered and went out. Her breath hitched, and cold dread gripped her throat. "Mom." Erin's voice trembled in the dark, uncertainty lacing his tone. The echoes of laughter faded into a chilling stillness, and fear clawed at her mind. What had she really awakened? Was she too late? In the depths of the shadow, something else stirred, darker, waiting. The air thickened as she felt the weight of unseen eyes upon her. And in the silence, as she tried to pull her son close, she realized she wasn't alone. Somewhere in the shadows, the laughter resumed, louder, more menacing. Who else could be watching? What more lay in wait as they fought to reunite? Claire's pulse drummed in her ears, drowning out everything else. The darkness buzzed with life, whispering twisted secrets that clawed at her sanity. Fear wrapped around her like a noose, squeezing tighter with each breath. "Erin," she whispered, feeling her way through the oppressive void. The air chilled, every inch of it felt alive, writhing in response to her fear like a coiled serpent poised to strike. "Where are you, Mom?" The voice was faint now, almost lost among the shadows that seemed to shift and pulse, as if they were breathing. She strained to see, to feel the comforting warmth of her son's tiny hand in hers again. The memories surged, the long nights spent reading to him, the way he would giggle when she made funny faces, the gentle kiss goodnight that now felt like a lifetime ago. Suddenly, a ripple of movement caught her attention, a white shimmer flickering just out of reach. Claire lunged forward, grasping for it. The light faltered, retreating like the breath of a dying star, and her heart sank. No. The single word exploded from her with desperation. The laughter returned, a cacophony of taunts, and for an instant, she thought she could almost see them, children's faces twisted in mockery. Pale skin under dark eyes filled with an insatiable hunger. Through gritted teeth, she screamed into the emptiness, "Stop! Just stop!" The shifting shadows recoiled, a momentarily stillness befell the darkness as they seemed to consider her defiance. In the silence, a single set of glittering eyes met hers, hungry and dark, unfurling from the shadows like an ancient terror awakening. Its grin spread wide, exposing teeth that glinted like razor blades. "You should have left," it hissed, its voice a symphony of whispers, each jagged syllable slicing through her resolve. "You cannot save him, it is too late." Claire staggered back, her breath leaving her in shallow gasps, terror dancing just out of reach, but she fought to stay standing. "I want to abandon him." With each declaration, the shadows quivered, as if recoiling from her defiance. Nadine, a steadfast friend lost to the wraiths, had once said, "Fear breathes life into the creatures of the night." Claire could feel it now, the fear lurking behind her, pulsing with malice. "Mom," the whisper floated closer, yearning and fragile. "Help me." Her heart broke at the sound of Aaron's voice. The innocence woven within that plea pulled her from the brink of despair, igniting something deep within her. She took a step forward, always forward, toward the light. "I'm coming. Just hold on," she shouted, pushing every ounce of her strength into her limbs. Shadows lashed at her ankles, pulling her down, but she fought, kicking and clawing against the darkness that craved to devour her spirit. With one last triumphant cry, she surmounted the darkness, breaking through the silhouettes that shaped her nightmare. But the light flickered again, threatening to extinguish. And with it, she heard the laughter, the melody of glee rising again, sharp and sinister. Claire's body froze as she realized the truth. This laughter wasn't just a haunting. It was a celebration of her impending failure. "Welcome to our playground," it sung, echoing in her mind, resonating with a terrifying familiarity. The darkness thickened around her once more, unrelenting. From every corner of this cursed realm, the laughter turned into a horrific chant, demanding her surrender. And just when Claire thought she would drown in the sound, the air shifted again. Another cry, this one was not her son. It echoed with the same desperation, the unmistakable plea of another lost child. "Help me!" Claire stared into the suffocating dark. The abyss was widening, swallowing everything, and there was no way back. Her decision weighed heavy on her. Would fighting this malevolence lead to freedom or pure madness? In that moment, shadows stretched and surged forward, wrapping tightly around her, and the laughter escalated into a roaring thunder. Was salvation even possible, or was this a trap from which escape was futile? As the dark figures closed in, Claire's breath quickened. "Mom." Aaron's voice twisted, melding with the laughter. Were the shadows reaching for him, wrapping around his innocent spirit, dragging him further away? With a surge of determination, she screamed into the void, the final flicker of resolve igniting within her. "I will find you, Aaron. I promise." But the darkness responded with furious laughter, a raucous sound that almost drowned her out. And in that moment of despair, Claire felt an eerie calm settle over the chaos, a presence looming just beyond her reach. What new terror awaited? What were the shadows truly hiding? As silence enveloped her, the laughter transformed. A single haunting voice called, "Come join us forever." And Claire knew she was not merely fighting for her son. She was fighting to reclaim herself from the grip of the darkness closing in around her. Claire's breath hitched as the silence grew heavy. The palpable darkness pulsated with something more sinister than mere shadows. It felt alive, breathing, searching for a weakness. She could almost hear the whispers repeat her fears, weaving them into a tapestry of dread. "You won't escape," they hissed in unison, echoing her own thoughts back to her. She forced herself to move, pushing deeper into the void, hoping to find Aaron. Each step became a battle. The shadows twisted, clawing at her skin like desperate hands reaching to pull her back into despair. Let go. Just let go. The darkness begged, but she gritted her teeth and pressed on. There was no choice. There was only the mission to find her son. Mom, please. The fragile voice floated through the void again, now tinged with a choking fear that sent ice through her veins. Claire felt the pang of heartbreak with every syllable, redoubling her efforts. She knew those sounds, the breathy pauses, the cracked vowels. They were the essence of childhood wonder, now marred by terror. Desperation fueled her. She would weave through these shadows, stitch together the fragments of hope left within her heart. Suddenly, the air thickened, and a cold gust swept through, carrying with it the sickly sweet scent of decay. It clung to her skin, wrapping around her like a shroud. Claire gagged and stumbled, drawing her sleeve over her mouth. No, no, she whispered, trying to shake the sensation off. The shadows pulsated like a heartbeat, and the laughter crescendoed into a thunderous roar, drowning out her thoughts. Join us, Claire. The playground awaits. The voice had transformed, now sultry and sinister. Claire shivered. It felt like the very essence of the darkness was trying to draw her in, allure her with promises of forgotten joys. Stop it. Just stop, she yelled, trying to drown out the voices with her own. The darkness vibrated around her, reeling with fury at her defiance, and the laughter shifted into mocking howls. Reality felt tenuous, teetering on the edge of sanity. And then, all at once, the cacophony ceased, leaving an almost palpable void. Claire stood in a bubble of undisturbed silence, as if suspended in time. She sensed the stillness was a facade, an ominous calm before a storm. And before she could gather her thoughts, the shadows congealed into a figure before her, translucent and flickering. It was a child, but one she had never seen before. Hollow eyes blinked slowly, yet they radiated an unbearable sorrow that pierced her heart. Help me, the child whimpered, the sound like glass breaking. Where's Aaron? Claire shouted, the edge of desperation sharpening her voice. The image shivered, warping and twisting like candlelight, and with every flicker, the child appeared closer to vanishing. Help me first, it echoed, its form stretching and warping before her eyes. Or you lose them. Both the shadows thickened, crawling up around Claire's ankles, wanting to drag her down. With her heart racing, she turned in every direction, seeking salvation or escape. She could feel the pressure building, like a weight pressing against her chest. What kind of malevolence was this that traded the innocent for the lost? Could she risk losing Aaron to save another child? The shadows laughed once more, cruel and mocking as Claire felt her resolve start to wane. Time is running out. Choose. Racing against time, Claire's fingers trembled with anxiety. She took a deep breath, trying to quiet the chaos swirling inside her. Could she navigate this madness without losing herself? Leave me alone, she screamed, only to be met with a cold gust that chilled her spine. Or join us, the shadows snapped back, eager, predatory. And then, with an otherworldly flicker, the distorted child pointed toward the deepest black of the night. Help or lose. Claire's heart thundered as she faced the choice. The darkness was a hungry beast, an endless maw of despair, but the cry of the lost child tugged at her soul. Would she allow the shadows to dictate her next move? Could she bear the weight of a choice that could alter everything? With every instinct screaming at her, she steadied her breath, ready to plunge into the depths, ready to confront the darkness head-on. Just as she took a step forward, the shadows erupted around her in wild chaos. Too late. Join us forever. They roared, the rhythm of their taunts blurring together into one final, deafening cry. What horror lay just ahead? What would be the cost of her courage? Claire plunged forward, the shadows seething and writhing like a live thing around her. They hissed and crackled, whispering slurs and taunts that grazed her ears like icy blades. The cacophony of screams twisted into her brain, filling her with a sense of impending doom that clawed at her sanity. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a great void, and one misstep would send her plunging into darkness. Then, a flicker of light, barely perceptible, caught her attention. It shimmered in the distance, elusive yet beckoning. Aaron, she cried out, voice raw, as she sprinted toward it. Each hurried step felt like running through molasses. The shadows clawed at her heels, seeking to drag her back into their grip. "Help me, please." The child's voice echoed again, desperately pulling at her heart. The flickering light was now interwoven with the haunting sound of laughter. It broke her stride. She slowed and turned, torn by the conflict inside her. The phantom child remained, a hollow silhouette twisted in fear and sorrow. "Help or lose," it taunted. The warping form flickered again, casting an ethereal glow almost angelic amidst the darkness. "Stay away from my son," Claire shouted, more to herself than anything. The air was cold and thick, weighing down her spirit, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Conflicted, she took half a step back, caught between a spectral child and the flickering hope of her own. "Join us," the shadows whispered seductively, their voices a blend of derision and temptation. The laughter morphed into chilling giggles, echoing through the hollow night. Little hands seemed to reach out from deep within the darkness, fingers brushing against her skin, coaxing her to surrender. "No," she roared, her voice fierce against the tide of despair. With renewed strength, she pushed forward into the light. The sound of her heart thundered in her ears, drowning out the mocking voices of the shadows that screamed in protest. She felt the cold grip of the spirits retreating as clarity began to break through the haze. As the glow intensified, she realized it wasn't just light. It shimmered with fragments of reality, pieces of memories long tucked away. Smiling faces, warm embraces, even laughter of carefree days filled her vision. "Aaron," she gasped, recognition striking hard. Could it be him trapped in this web of torment? In pursuit of the light, Claire could see clearer now, yet the oppressive darkness clawed hungrily at her ankles. "You can't save him," they shrieked, frenzy escalating around her. "Shut up," she shouted back. A surge of defiance electrified her. She couldn't let the darkness win. She could feel it, a burn in her chest, a burgeoning will to fight. "Keep looking." The flickering voice of the child echoed, now more urgent. Was she helping or damning them both? Anxiety twisted inside her like a knife. She screamed in rage and fear as a familiar face broke through the darkness, Aaron's beloved smile, the warmth of his innocent laughter mingling with shadows. "Mom," he shouted. She could almost reach out and touch him. Suddenly, the air surged with a deep growl, like thunder rumbling through the earth. The shadows coalesced, turning fierce and relentless. Claire's resolve wavered as they lunged to snatch her away. Just as they were closing in, the light exploded, enveloping her like a warm blanket, blinding her with its brilliance. Blindly, she reached for Aaron, naivete flooding her heart, casting away her doubts. "Hold on." But her voice trailed off as the ground seemed to give way beneath her. Time stretched as she wrestled against the obsidian mass, trying to swallow her whole. Around her, the laughter ceased abruptly, replaced by a whisper soft but menacing. "You will discover how high the price will be." Claire felt the pull of the abyss tugging at her core. Would she ever emerge from this? What unspeakable choices awaited her? Would they all pay the price? The light flickered, and she felt herself falling into the depths, the shadows reaching, clawing, waiting what would become of the fragile threads holding her. Family together? Would she find her son, or would it be the end for them both? Claire plunged into the void, her heart racing as shadows enveloped her, a cacophony of darkness nearly drowning her resolve. But deep within, a flicker of warmth grew, ignited by the thought of Aaron. "Aaron, hold on," she shouted into the suffocating blackness. Determination surged through her veins. Despair swallowed her, yet the ember of hope pushed her forward. She worked through the shadows, the laughter of lost souls phasing between mockery and urging pleas. "You can't save him," they cackled, a chorus of despair trying to pull her back into the depths of their nightmare. But with each syllable, her desire to rescue her son burned brighter. Suddenly, Claire stumbled, her palms hitting the cold ground. The moment caused a gentle ripple of light to burst forth, illuminating the darkness just enough to reveal a glimpse of her son, small, lost, and frightened. "Mom." Aaron's voice echoed, pure and laced with yearning. It was a call that filled her spirit with resolve. "Aaron," she cried, reaching out toward him, desperate to bridge the distance. But the ground shook violently as shadows raged against her, clawing at her legs and trying to drag her back down. "No, not again," she screamed, refusing to give in. With all her strength, she fortified her will, her body shaking with determination. She plunged into the chaos, and the light flickered brilliancy against the shadows. The dark shapes twisted and twisted around her, but their icy grip began to falter in the face of her defiance. "Come to me." With frantic power, she reached for Aaron, feeling the magnetic pull connecting them. The shadows hissed, more furious, as if afraid of the growing brilliance. She felt sweat bead on her brow, muscles straining against despair. "I want to leave you." "Not now." Suddenly, the light thickened, illuminating the path toward Aaron's terrified visage. He was so close now. Claire rocketed forward, bursting through the wavering fabric of darkness. "Aaron, stay with me," she urged, her voice cracking. She could taste the salty sting of tears on her lips as she channeled every ounce of love into her call. "Mom." He appeared more clear now, eyes wide, reaching toward her, laughter mingling with tears as urgency replaced fear. But the shadows weren't done. They lunged forward, attempting to pull her from her path. "Join us," they taunted, howling around her. "Never." Claire howled back with ferocity, an echo amplified by the growing inner light. She pressed forward, the darkness vibrating against her resolve like a panther pacing before its prey, but she couldn't be intimidated. All that mattered was Aaron. The protective barrier of light expanded outward, engulfing both mother and son as she yanked him into the vivid brightness stretched before them. But she wasn't prepared for the darkness to retaliate. The shadows swirled violently, a massive torrent of raw malevolence crashing against her renewed strength. "Help me, Mom," Aaron cried, his once innocent white robe now tinged with darkness as shadows clawed and pulled. She felt his panic, pierced through her heart like a shard of ice. "I'm here. I want to let go," Claire growled, locking her grip tighter around his wrist. But the forces of the void conspired against them. "Keep looking. We're almost there." And then it happened. Time stood still. The light erupted, swirling in a fantastical dance, casting away shadows with its brilliance. In that radiant moment, Claire saw children, lost and trapped within the grips of darkness, stepping forth from the shadows, alighting into the gleam of hope, urging her on. "Take my hand," one of them cried, reaching out with an ethereal smile, innocence written across their face. With one final surge of defiance, Claire lifted her chin, anchored her heart, and tugged Aaron closer against the shadows clawing at them. "Fight," she growled. "We're going home." Then the light exploded. It was filled with warmth, laughter that melted through despair and rippled against the oppressive grasp of darkness. It surged in every direction, burning away the tendrils of shadow encasing them. Finally, blissful silence filled the chasm. Claire blinked, her heart launched with joy and confusion. Standing in the sunlight, they found themselves outside, an expanse of blue sky above, the warm glow of freedom surrounding them. Aaron, the once haunted boy, smiled at her, pure and bright. He ran to her, collapsing in her arms. Claire felt overwhelming relief wash over her as tears streamed down her cheeks. "We did it, we're safe," she sobbed, holding him tightly, feeling his warmth. But even in that moment, in the sunlight of a new dawn, the shadows loomed behind them, a faint whisper echoing like an unwelcome reminder. Soon they whispered, settling into the recesses of Claire's mind, the panic in her heart bubbling once more. "Don't look back," Claire murmured, kissing the top of Aaron's head. She inhaled the fresh air, anchoring herself in the present as they turned to face a new beginning. Together, they would face whatever awaited them, side by side. This was their life, and heaven or hell, they would build it together. The realities of Mill Creek would never be the same, but Claire felt the shimmering strength inside. Love for her son would forever conquer even the deepest darkness. The specter of fear would always linger, whispering promises of despair. But she, Claire, would remain unbroken, defiant, fierce, and unwavering. As they walked hand in hand into the vibrant day, leaving behind a world of shadows, victory hummed in her bones. And as they moved forward, they faced the future ready to create their own light. For she understood now, love was their shield, and fear, while a chilling folly, would never again imprison them. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that guard your heart and ignite your soul. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm, help us grow, and connect with more souls. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible conclusion. Let us hear your voices. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformative story. This is your chance to spread the light of hope and connection. True fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these powerful actions.